Hello, I'm Coretta Wilson, and welcome to Insight, the show that keeps you up to date on the issues and initiatives in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. Good information is key to making good decisions about your child's education. So we go straight to the source to get that information from the Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Earnest Winston. Ernest, good to see you again.
It's great to see you as well, Coretta.
Well, some pretty good news. Let's start with that great news for our teachers and for our district employees. The school board, of course, recently voted to go ahead with some pay raises, even while the state is still trying to hammer out a budget. We get this good news from the district. Explain how all of this came about.
We, and when I say we, I mean our Board of Education and our leadership in CMS, really would have preferred to bring one full budget to the board for approval. Unfortunately, given the uncertainty in Raleigh, the board felt compelled with some of the recent decisions, by officials in Raleigh,
right,
as well as at the county level, to do something. And so we knew that the stalemate over the budget was having a detrimental impact on students and our families. And so what the board did, and I am so grateful that they took the leadership role and said, we're going to compensate all of our employees. And we're just extremely grateful. We have some hardworking employees, and I think this action by the board really shows that we care about all of our employees, and this will allow them to really focus on the things that really matter, educating kids and providing those supports to our district staff.
What do you think this means to the staff and the CMS family getting this just a few weeks before your Thanksgiving and the holidays and onto the new year? What do you think it means to them for this news to come right about now?
Our staff members are extremely grateful for being able to receive these raises just prior to the holidays. But as I talk to staff members across the district, while they are extremely grateful, I want to just let the public know that they aren't in it for the compensation. This work is much bigger than just the pay. The supports that they receive, the development that they receive as team members, those are things that are just as important as the compensation piece.
Of course, we're still waiting for the state to chime in. What's happening with the budget? Can you give us an update on where we are? Are we advocating? Your team members visiting Raleigh? What's the conversation like?
I recently wrote a letter to our governor and to some of our state legislators, and while we understand that there's uncertainty right now in Raleigh, we're focusing on the things that matter most for our students, which is teaching and learning and making sure that we're able to provide them with the supports that they need to be able to reach their full potential. So while that's taking place, we can't focus on what's not happening, but we're forging ahead with the work.
Okay. Well, CMS board elections, of course, are in the books. We had that election, and incumbent Elise Dashu won re-election. Now, she's going to be joined by two newcomers, Jennifer De La Hoya and Lenora Ship.
I started out as a K-5L teacher years ago, and then still have worked in the community with various immigrant communities over the years. And I do think that it's important, particularly when we're talking about looking through the equity lens, that we consider our immigrant voices and make sure they're included in the greater CMS conversation.
I am glad that I have had this opportunity to serve. I'm committed to our children and the quality education I know that we can do in the public school system. And I've had an opportunity as a student and as a parent to see happen and unfold.
Yes, I've had an opportunity to meet both of our new board members. I spent some time with them at a recent school board retreat, and I will tell you that while oftentimes times of transition can be difficult, what I do want to say is that it does bring fresh perspective, new thinking, and just new ideas to the table. So we're excited as a team to be able to work with our two new board members, and can't wait to get to work.
Okay. Well, Mary McCray did not seek re-election. She was the board chair for some 7 years. Really tough job. Can you talk about her leadership style and what she has done for the board, what she has done for CMS, the time that you've been able to spend with her?
Absolutely. Without a doubt, Ms. McCray has been a rock for our school district as a former educator herself. She was very insightful and brought her own experiences as a former classroom teacher into the decisions that she made as a school board member and as the chairperson. I will say that Ms. McCray and Erica Ellis Stewart, both of their leadership, dynamic leadership, will be missed. Their commitment to students, their commitment to service has certainly not gone unnoticed, and we just wish them well in the next chapter of their lives.
Okay, and of course, once in education, always in education.
Absolutely.
I want to get your opinion on this, on the National Assessment of Educational Process Test Scores. Of course, CMS was the top urban school district in several categories. What are your thoughts on the scores that came back and those results?
So we are extremely excited that our students in CMS were leading in the NAEP assessments. We know this is an important benchmark for many districts across the country. It's called the nation's report card. So to know that our students were at the head of the pack was extremely rewarding for us. However, we have a lot of work to do, a lot of progress that remains, and so we're not where we want to be, and so we continue to focus on how we can get better.
When we say that we were leading, are there any particular categories you want to talk about or express?
Well, let's talk about fourth grade reading, for example. We had 39% of our fourth graders who were considered proficient, and while that was they were at the head of the pack across the country, that's not good enough, because what it means is that nearly 60% of students were not proficient, which is an indicator to us that we still have a lot of work to do. A lot of progress has been made, but we still have to roll up our sleeves and do the work that lies ahead.
And of course, we're going to talk in just a little bit after the break with your Deputy Superintendent of Academics, so we'll talk more with him about those scores as well.
Excellent.
Well, when we come back, building a lesson plan so that every child is prepared for success. It's the art of academics, right after this short break. Welcome back. Over the course of any given school day, there's a focus on teaching and learning. But have you ever thought about how it all comes together to make sure students are getting the right education for today's world? Well, let's get some insight on that topic from our next guest, Dr. Matthew Hayes, who is the CMS Deputy Superintendent of Academics. Dr. Hayes, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
We'll talk about academics in just a little bit. A lot to talk about in regards to that. But let's talk about you and your background a little bit. No stranger to CMS, a CMS product.
I am a CMS product. I grew up here in Charlotte. Started off at Cotswold Elementary, was Randolph Middle, graduated from West Charlotte High School, 1991 as a proud Lion. Then came back here and have been in the district for 21 years, all the way from after school enrichment teacher to an AP, teacher, an AP, principal, and learning community soup, and now in the deputy role.
So you have seen it all.
I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot.
And a lot of it as academics, of course, is concerned. What do you consider the main responsibilities of your position as the Deputy Superintendent of Academics?
So the Deputy Superintendent's position, one that's we've been absent of for a couple of years now, and so really bringing that back is, in my eyes, has been a blessing, not just that I'm in the role, but also to the fact of it is designed to bring alignment across the academic side of the house to really make sure that the things that we're doing is in the best interest of all kids and aligned, and also to make sure that our time, resources, people are aligned to do the work that needs to be done.
When you say aligned, are we talking about students learning concepts in elementary school so that they are prepared for middle, they're in middle, they finish middle, and they're prepared for high school?
Yeah, so in the alignment, we're talking about one, curriculum, making sure, as you know, we've taken on the EL curriculum as our base curriculum in order to support all kids across the district.
Right.
But really with alignment, what we're talking about is the levels of support for each of our schools.
Okay.
So basically all of our schools, through various departments on the academic side, all receive the same level of support services to make sure that we're reaching the needs of all kids.
Dr. Hayes, when you look at the recent test scores that have come in for CMS,
Yes, ma'am.
what do you consider, I guess, we'll talk about the bright spots and the challenges. Let's talk about the bright spots first.
Yep. So we've got, as far as you're referring to the NAEP test.
Right.
Thank you. Okay, so definitely, you know, fourth grade showed some strong gains there with literacy. But once again, I think, you know, we did a phenomenal job with those scores. I don't think that they're where we want them to be.
Okay.
You know, when we start looking across the district for all kids, we look at that and we celebrate where we are right now, but we know that we've got a lot of work to do. And we're excited about the future, what the future has in order to move those scores even greater.
What are some of the challenges that we're facing as far as academics goes?
You know, with academics, really, it is, we have students that just come in at a varied level of ability levels in elementary school, in kindergarten. You know, some students come in 2 years behind. And so we're really trying to close gaps from the onset. I don't know that we've always really focused on what each of the standards is asking us to do and what little skill gaps students might create over a period of time. We have to figure out ways to make sure that we are able to articulate what those skill gaps are and then begin to build scaffolding to close those skill gaps for each of our students.
How difficult is it to do that when you have students coming in at different levels? For example, they may come in at 4th grade, but one is reading on a 5th grade level, another coming in at a 2nd grade level. How difficult is that to bring all students up to the level that they should be at that particular time, 4th or 5th grade?
Yeah, so that's where that alignment comes into play, is making sure that being aligned and being focused on the core of what we're looking for as far as the student, teacher, and also the curriculum that's offered in all of our schools. So then when we deploy services and support to our schools, we're able to do that to focus specifically on what those skill gaps are so we can move our students and close those gaps.
What about parents? What can parents do to help their children?
Yeah, you know, lean in. And be a part of the learning process with your child.
And that's a full-time job.
That is, and I have two myself. I have one that just entered high school, and I have one, you know, and I ran a high school for 9.5 years, and I still was oblivious when she stepped into there. And I've got one that's in middle school. They are a challenge, right? And we love our children, but they challenge us every day. And we've got to stay actively a part of all the decisions that they make, and especially around their academic success.
Can they be involved? Are you encouraging parents to be involved at the school level as well as at home?
Yeah, I mean, we have through various online services, they can check the grades of the students, they can communicate with the teachers. Never has it been any easier than it is right now to have that one-on-one communication with the teachers inside the schools, principals, APs, guidance, counselors, everyone else. So we really need to make sure that we're doing our due diligence as parents to reach out there and be a part of the academic success of our kids.
Okay, it's all about its responsibilities.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Hayes, thank you so much for your insight. More insight from the superintendent coming up right after this short break. Welcome back to Insight. If American history is about the story of our country, CMS has added a few more chapters to be considered. African American and Hispanic American studies are now included, and students are learning more about our shared history.
American history should encompass all voices. When I found out that they were wanting to revamp this and to help teachers to be able to have a solid curriculum that they could teach out of, I was like, well, sign me up. You can always find a way to make sure that this particular group of individuals has been highlighted into the narrative, and it's not kind of a sidebar of, you know, slavery and then Jim Crow and then you have Obama, right? But that we're filling in those gaps, and so that students can really understand what Black individuals have experienced over time.
I've never been a history person myself, but the way Forbes actually teaches the materials, very, very intriguing, and it brings you into the actual subject.
Very blunt. It's like being straight up about what really happened.
I think personally just kind of the idea that there's all these stories that they've never heard about before, and I'm like, they're in shock. They're just like, wait, this actually happened?
But this is a class that really opened my eyes to a bigger culture that I never knew existed.
In 1933.
I think definitely it gives a sense of self, number one, if you are a black student or if you're a Latin American student. And I think it also, if you're not a student of color, it does just give you a complete picture about the experiences of these individuals. And it will help them to be kind of more worldly individuals as they go into society and to make those civic decisions, that they have kind of some background to kind of help them do that. I think for me, I went to CMS schools, graduated from a CMS high school, and so to be able to take this knowledge and to essentially give it back to the community, I think it's excellent to be able to pass that down to the next generation.
They know the true American history. They know what's really going on.
I feel like looking back at that past can really inspire us to make more change for our future.
This is America, and we need to make sure that we incorporate all of those narratives within that story.
That's some powerful stuff. Students are extremely engaged in that classroom, and that's exactly what we want to see in every classroom.
Exactly. And it's important that students be able to see themselves in the curriculum, because what it does for students is it allows them to aspire to be just that. And so we're happy that we have a more diverse offering for our students. We have African American history courses, we have Latino American history courses, and we want to continue to broaden our offering so that we're being very inclusive. And it's important that all students understand the history, because that is a part of American history.
Does it excite you to see the students so engaged in speaking and expressing themselves about what they're learning in that classroom? Ms. Forbes obviously doing a wonderful job.
Absolutely. And so when we talk about high quality teaching, part of that is being able to engage students in the content. And we know that when students are engaged in the content, in the work, they have and produce better outcomes. And so that's extremely exciting. I look forward to visiting Ms. Forbes' class.
Enjoyed that piece, very good piece. Well, CMS has a new Principal of the Year. Congratulations is going out to Dr. Emily Miles of Sterling Elementary. Of course, you want to congratulate her. What do you have to say about Dr. Miles?
Dr. Miles is a phenomenal educator. I actually had an opportunity to spend some time with her at a leadership team meeting today, and we wish her well at the next level, and we just can't wait for her to bring home the top prize, and I believe we'll find out in January.
Really? Well, congratulations to her as well as her school.
Yes.
Well, we are getting close to winter break, and we're in the holiday season, of course. What message do you have to our viewers? What message do you have to the CMS family during this time of giving?
Well, what I would say is that if your family is anything like mine, this is typically the time of the year when we think the most about the things that we're grateful for, right, and that brings us a sense of satisfaction. And so I would encourage all employees and members of our public to take some time out to think about what are you extremely grateful for. And so I look forward to spending time with family over the next few weeks, and we're just excited about this opportunity to get some relaxation and rest in. And I've encouraged our employees to do the same. Yeah.
Because CMS, of course, always busy, 12 months out of the year, not just 10. So it's good that you are thinking of us and all of the employees getting a chance to breathe, relax a little bit, and then come back, renewed for the new year.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. We'll do that, we promise. And you did the same thing.
Thank you.
Well, thanks so much for joining us for this episode of Insight. We hope you learned something that will help you become an informed parent, an energized employee, or an engaged community member. Your support is important to the success of CMS. We'll see you next time for more Insight.